Boruto episode 53, Himawari's birthday. So this episode officially begins the Boruto movie arc, and they seem to be following it kind of like the manga did, because the movie and the manga are like slightly different solely based on how they, like, the story's the same, they just rearrange some stuff. So I think we're going to get to see um, what we got at the end of the last episode. That's how the movie starts, which is like a cool action sequence with Sasuke versus the other two people. And in the manga, they changed that up to that fight sequence is a flashback rather than just being a part of the actual story. So I think that's what we're gonna get in the next episode. Is going to be Sasuke talks to Naruto, and then we're going to get a flashback, and it's going to be that cool action sequence. Because I was hoping it would be in this episode, just because I wanted a cool action sequence, even though I've seen it a couple times. I was like, okay, yeah, that would be cool. But it's like, oh, they're doing it just like the manga did it, where they're kind of switching some of the stuff around. So I was like, all right, we're gonna see, kind of the manga version of it, where it's a flashback instead of just being the first part of the story and it kind of evolving from there. So I assume that kind of that's what we'll end up seeing in the next episode. This episode, of course, being the beginning of the Boruto movie arc, is the beginning of the Boruto movie. Plus a little extra stuff is like, you could tell that the animation was a lot better in this episode, because it was like some of the stuff was just like, all right, that's just straight from the movie. Or some scenes I'm pretty sure were just ripped straight from the movie, and then some scenes you could tell they redid because they would have to add in extra lines, or they changed what they were doing, like the scene with Naruto where he says like, oh, it's Himawari's birthday party is about to start. In the movie, they're actually singing the song they're singing like happy birthday as he's carrying the cake. And I don't know which one was sadder, because like they had the music going and I was just kind of waiting for him to disappear, because like I said, in the movie they were actually like singing like, happy birthday, and then it's just like poof, and then the cake drops. And in this, it was just like, oh, Himori's birthday is about to start, and they just show their faces and the music's like swelling up, and then it's just like, and it just cuts when he disappears and the cake hits the ground. Either way, sad. But I think it was a little bit sadder when it was in the movie, because they were like, actually in the middle of singing, like he was actually singing with them, he was talking as he was walking, and it's just like, yep, and he just disappears and the cake hits the ground. And it's just like, crap. That's still a really great scene. Loved it in the movie. Loved it in the episode as well. I can't remember exactly how it played out in the movie. I don't know if they had the exact conversation that they had in this episode, or if it was as lengthy. But I liked it. I thought it was good. It's the emotional stuff. So I was like, okay, even though I knew this was coming, I still enjoyed it. They kind of had some stuff which I didn't really think much of it. I was watching it, I knew something was a little off, and then I was reading some comments after I watched the episode, and I was like, oh, that's why it felt weird. Them doing some of the movie stuff kind of like backtrack Boruto as a character, because we went through some of the stuff where he'd already been like, I'm gonna, I'm gonna like, prove that I'm a great ninja and everything. And it made sense at first, where it was like, okay, he's transitioning, and in the last episode he found out about Sasuke, and it was like, that's how I'm gonna be a really good ninja. And in this, they had to do the whole Chunin exam thing, where he's like, oh, I don't care about being a Chunin and stuff like that, which was never really a big part of his character. Like, they kind of had that early on in the show, and then they kind of let go of it, where he eventually does grow up. Like when they go through the Genin exams, he does kind of grow up into being like, okay, I do want to be a full fledged ninja. But this was kind of like, and it was for like a split second anyway, so it was like super quick, where it was like they had to like convince him to join the tuning exams. And I was like, well, it kind of works. But I knew, like, when I was watching, I was like, I know something feels off about this. And it was because like we just had him kind of figuring out how he wants to do it, and this was almost like, I don't want to be a ninja, period. Like, I just don't care at all. Like, that was kind of how it seemed in that, because when the movie started, there wasn't any of the extra backstory. It was just like, yeah, that's just it. So I knew something was off there, and I was like, I can't put my finger on it. And it wasn't like the worst, obviously it wasn't the most obvious to me, but it was like, I knew something was off, or it was like something about that just doesn't seem right, where he, it seemed like it came out of nowhere that he suddenly doesn't care at all about the tuning exams. And it was because, of course, that was in the movie, and I guess they just, instead of making something brand new, they just wanted to like reuse the old scene, because it was, like you could tell, it's like, all right, you guys existed in the movie, so this scene is just basically ripped from the movie. And then it's like, oh, here's the scene with Boruto and Shikadai and Denki, so this is brand new. Like when they have the beginning where Naruto is on the news and everything, that's all that, like everything that's happened is from the movie, except for the stuff with the other characters. And the scene that they have with the scientist, when he leaves Naruto, I think that's like the slightest difference, because he says like, oh, young Lord knows a little bit better, because they already had those conversations. So that's another thing that's different from the movie because they, like we obviously know that he made it and stuff like that. So there's not like the same level of mystery and suspense as far as like villains and this and that because they kind of played around with that in the movie, and then it was like, oh, and they'll, of course they'll still do it, but it'll be less surprising, or it won't be a surprise at all, I guess, because we know the characters. But decent episode. It was just, it was good because it was from the movie, which I really liked. So it was like, it was good because it was just like, oh, this is that good thing that I've already seen in the movie. And there's like a couple of little extra snippets because, Denki's there. They reference some of the other little stuff, like the fact that Naruto showing up was a part of, he and Boruto's promise. So them like being in the little back closet thing where he's like, you remember it, and it's like, it's cool, we're even and stuff like that. That of course wasn't in the movie because they hadn't made that promise from a previous moment. It was just like he showed up and then he disappeared, which is probably one of the reasons I like it more in the show a little bit better than the movie, actually, because they had that actual thing where it was like, you already missed my birthday, like you didn't care, and they had like, that was like an emotional thing where it was like, do not miss my sister's birthday because that's what matters so much. And then they had that moment where it's like, okay, like, I guess you're kind of cool, like you kept your promise, so I guess we're even and everything like that. And I think that's what made it kick a little bit harder compared to the movie, where it was just like, it still sucked because like I said, they're singing and everything and he still vanishes, and it's like, dang, he couldn't just show up and put a shadow clone somewhere else. But I think it hits a little bit harder in the episode than it does in the movie because they had that previously established promise because he missed, Boruto's birthday. So I kind of like it a little bit more for that. But everything else is pretty much the same. I still have my same random issues as I've mentioned a million times already. And everyone, of course, does, where it's just like, dude, he's not going to be tired. He's got, a demon fox inside of him with nigh unlimited chakra. Like he doesn't need to get tired. Like, and they show it, and that was another thing I did appreciate more than the movie, where they kind of talk about it a little bit more. Like they even have the scene, which I don't think they have in the movie, but it's been forever, so I could be wrong. Where Shikadai says like, I know you've been stressed out like with all this stuff that's been going on, and they show like Boruto sweat or Naruto sweating and stuff, and it's like, it's okay, like I gotta get this stuff done. And I was like, okay, I can appreciate that they at least put in a little extra effort, because in the movie it was just like he just disappeared and it was like, oh, I'm so busy. And of course, when the movie stuff starts to really kick up, you'll understand why. But I was like, all right, I appreciate it. Still hate it because it's still just like, it doesn't make any sense, but I could appreciate it because even the scene when Naruto is by himself and it was the clone, when he's looking at the pictures and everything, he has like two little beads of sweat, and I was like, okay, they're putting it there, like that strain is showing even on the clone. And I was like, all right, I can appreciate that extra little bit of effort, but it still doesn't negate the fact that we've seen him as a child do like the stuff against Garo when he first did like 1,000 clones or 10,000 clones, and it's like he's got full control of that now. He could do 10 million clones if he wanted to, and it just doesn't, like, it never makes sense. Like, I don't know why they even bother with that. Like, I mean, we couldn't have the actual story if he did that, so I just don't know. I don't know. But either way, decent episode, mostly because it was all the good stuff from the movie, plus like a tiny little bit extra, like the Denki stuff. But other than that, it was, the Boruto movie arc. We did get to see the Otsutsuki clan. All of that stuff was brand new, because I mentioned before, that character that showed up on the moon, or that, yeah, I think they're on the moon. That guy didn't exist, and not for anyone who might randomly find in my reviews, that guy did not exist in the movie or the manga because they didn't have time to put him in. So it was just the other two characters, and he was like the new third character. So as soon as they showed the guy from Naruto the Last, I was like, it's gonna be the third character that shows up, because that guy didn't exist in the movie either. Like, he wasn't, like, all that stuff was brand new. So I thought that was cool too. I was like, okay, that's interesting, because that was something that was meant to be in the movie, but they just did not have the time. So all that new stuff I really loved, even though it was super tiny, nothing really happened. It was like, oh, we saw what happened with the Byakugan girl, and that was really embarrassing and stuff like that. And we know you tried to do something with her son, and that ended up failing. And it's like, I can't really kill you, so don't worry, but, why don't you just be in prison for 10,000 years? I don't know if that's going to be broken or anything that goes on with the manga, anything like that. I have no idea what the story is there, so I don't know how this is going to play out, because you have the movie, then the manga, and now the anime. All three are different from each other. The manga and the movie are fairly similar, but of course they have, extra content. And then the anime comes in, and it's like there's just brand new characters like Iwabe and Denki. I assume, unless they decided to magically roll them in, like they've been away on a mission forever. I assume that they're still not in the manga, so I even all the manga stuff is going to be different than the anime stuff because they're going to have extra characters in there. So that that's going to be interesting to see how that ends up playing out. But honestly, I'm excited. And I mentioned this before. The main reason I'm excited for them to be in the Boruto movie arc, aside from the cool stuff from the actual movie, is that I want to see the tuning exams. Because in the movie, they skip through that stuff super fast because there's only like 8 characters. In the series at the time, is like Boruto, Sada, Mitsuki, Shikadai, Chocho, Inojin, and Metal Lee is technically in there, but we don't see his team. And then that's probably it actually. As far as like the kids go, that's pretty much it. So it's really only like 7 kids, and now we have like the other teams. We have Iwabe and Denki, Sumidi and her clan as well, or her team. So now that there's more content, we know who their senseis are and stuff like that. I'm hoping we get to see more of those battles and we get to see more of the trials because, like I said in the movie, it's like, all right, well here's Boruto and his team. And then here's, the Inoshika Cho trio, because Chocho was in the manga with Sadara, so it was like, well, we have to have them in the movie too. And that's pretty much it. It's like those 2 teams, and Metal exists, but we don't know who he's with or anything like that. So I was like, all right, I want to see more tuning exam fights. They skip through like a bunch of stuff. Like we see like the main snippets. There's gonna be a bunch of filler, but I mentioned it before. I hope that the action fillers are good. Maybe we'll see more of the trials. We'll get to see more of the stuff with like the characters from the other villages. Like only one team is really shown any importance, and I kind of mentioned them before, but I don't really want to spoil it because it seems like it'll be so cool if we actually see them fight. But that's what I'm looking forward to, even though it's just gonna be like kind of filler. It was basically the beginning of Dragon Ball Super, where it's like let's just recap these 2 movies for however long that went for. I don't know. I'm gonna have to watch it at some point. But yeah, right now that's kind of where we are. It's like there's gonna be some little extra content. It won't look as good as the movie, but clearly it looks better because I was like, some of these scenes I felt were ripped straight from the movie. I'm pretty sure they were, and they kind of toned down the animation a little bit, but I was like, I can tell that's like basically straight from the movie. And then there's other stuff where I'm like, okay, not so much from the movie. But yeah, I enjoyed it solely for the fact that I like the stuff that happened in the movie, so the episode didn't do anything to screw it up. They changed a little bit here and there, added a little bit here and there, so like some extra stuff was good, some extra stuff was just like whatever. But ultimately I'm looking forward to really just the fight scene in the next episode. I'm trying to basically just remember how the movie goes along, because until the tuning comes up, the actual exam is just talking. And considering they're doing it in movie form, or in TV form, not movie form, it's going to be more talking compared to in the movie where it was like, all right, this happened, this happened, this happened, tuning exams. So they're going to be expanding it. We'll see how long it takes, but I hope some of the extra stuff is at least some really good fight sequences. Don't know what they're going to do at all with this 3rd character, so I am really excited for that, because that's like the one thing I don't know, because they just never had the chance to do it. So it's brand new content anytime that 3rd skinnier character shows up. So I am looking forward to that. But all in all, decent episode. Really just watch. I don't know, if you haven't seen the movie, don't watch the movie because you'll know everything that's happening. But I don't know, it's almost like when you see a movie based off a book, so you kind of can, because if you see the movie and then watch the anime, there's still going to be different stuff because of all the new characters. So it's like you could see the original version and then watch the anime, but then you know everything and you'll just be annoyed by how long it's taken probably. So maybe don't do that. Go through this arc, then watch the movie with less characters in it and be like, oh, okay, that was cool. I just can't wait till they get to the end, because the action, they've already talked about the Rasengan. They do some cool stuff with that, so I'm looking forward to where we're headed. But for now, Boruto movie arc finally made it. Took literally over a year to do it, but we are officially here. Of course, we'd love to know your thoughts on this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. Of course, if you have not seen the movie, if you have not read the manga, I would love to know your predictions. Just in general, your predictions, what you guys want to see as well. Like I said, lots of new content, considering there's a 3rd villain that didn't even exist in the movies. So, want to know your predictions, want to know what you guys want to see in general. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.